Hey, Edem.
Hi.
Thank you so
Hi.
much. Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of our first premiere LCTV live stream. We appreciate it so very much. And thank you so much for, sharing and holding space for our viewers and, just truly being your most authentic self with us. And, we just truly immensely appreciate it. And for those of you that have come backstage to hang out with us for this encore performance and a little Q&A with Edem Soul Music again, Edem has performed with us for tonight in her native, many songs in her native tongue, originating from the Ga tribe of Ghana, West Africa. And I would like to start a little bit in terms of just kind of talking about your background and your relationship with that beautiful djembe that you have in front of you, and I was wondering if you can kind of maybe expand a bit on that relationship that the both, I say you just as, because it's very much, I guess, a presence, right? So maybe if you could expand a bit on the relationship that you have with that beautiful instrument.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I have so many instruments, but the djembe remains one of my favorites because it allows me to really allow the melodies of my heart to sing. Um, I actually taught, so I was only technically trained in violin, um, and everything else I've taught myself. And the djembe was, I think, one of the first instruments that I ever taught myself. And this was like years ago. And so I play like conga, I can do cajon, I can do djembe, a lot of African percussion instruments. But the djembe is something that I feel like connects me to my people, because in my culture, the Gadangmes, we're all like one family. They Drumming is a huge part of African culture. Drumming is the essence of African culture. Drumming brings people together. Drumming is used in time of war. Drumming is used in medicine. Drumming is used in healing. Drumming is used for so many purposes. Worship. So for me, playing this djembe, it's connecting to my ancestors that were before me, but also I know that there are some ceremonial settings that I would not be able to play because I am a woman, with traditions that have been going back thousands, like I mean, I won't say thousands, but hundreds and hundreds of years. But I play the way I play to show any little girls who are playing or want to play the djembe. I mean, girls play djembes. It's not like a taboo, but I don't want them to feel like they can't. So me playing this drum helps to connect with my heritage and my ancestry. And it also helps me to tell stories. Our people, African people, Black people, were very much centered around stories. And so being able to share that rhythmically is something that helps to instill this sense of knowing or this sense of understanding through whatever the story is about. And so that's another reason why I love my djembe and encourage anybody to learn. I also teach djembe virtually. So, yeah, it's just a wonderful connection that I have to this instrument.
And so to honor the pronunciation too, is the D silent or does it just sit on your tongue a little bit and you
Oh,
pronounce more with the J?
je. So, like, think it's
J,
like,
J.
yeah, the D is silent for sure, and then you hear more of like that j sound. So the j comes together as embe, but you'll find that it's common like this. There's different types of African percussive instruments. Like some people could easily mistake this for a doumbek. I'd say doumbeks are a little bit smaller and they look a little bit differently, but they still have that kind of bell shape. So there are different drums that look similar, but the djembe sometimes will even have different names depending from country to country that you go to in Africa. So djembe is widely known. You say djembe, people are like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But sometimes culturally, you'll find different tribes, countries that may have their own name for the djembe, but the djembe is pretty commonly known as djembe.
There was a track that you performed, a song that you performed, and I believe, and I didn't have a chance to write it down in terms of the title, but you referenced how it was a song that your mother and grandmother sang. I believe it was also a childhood song or a nursery
Yeah.
aged kind of song. Can you tell us a little bit about there's a chorus that you were singing in there that struck a chord with me in terms of I would love to know what you were speaking and sharing
Oh
in your
yeah.
native tongue. Yeah.
For sure. So this song, if you want to hear it again, you can. It's in my song called "If You Forget Me," and that you can find it on Spotify, Tidal. It's kind of like everywhere. But that part, like I said, and like you mentioned, it's a childhood song. So it's a song that kids would have sung as they were really young. And so the song starts off. It says, "Everybody, everybody, bring your calabash." And I believe calabash is like a bowl, or I think it's like, or the calabash, like the instrument. I'm trying to remember because like there's my mom, she taught this to me, so some of the wording I'm just kind of like what. But everybody bring your calabashi, mofia moke cheniaba. Everyone bring your bowl. Wayawanu cocoa means like we're going to go drink cocoa. I mean, you don't like drink porridge, but it's like a soup kind of, so, you know what I mean? It's like in that in between.
Sure,
So
sure, yeah.
we're gonna go, yeah, we're gonna go drink cocoa. And so it's just kind of like repeating that over, like wayawanu cocoa, wayawanu cocoa. We're gonna go drink porridge. We're gonna go drink
Yeah.
porridge. I mean, I feel like it sounds a lot better in Ghana than it does in English, and like the essence of it is so rich there too. So
Yeah.
that's really what it's about, and it's just one of those, like, every Ghan knows that song because they
Hmm.
all heard it in their childhood. And so while I didn't grow up in Ghana, West Africa, it was just something beautiful to hear from my mother and my brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I sensed that even though couldn't pick up the exact words that you were singing, I could sense that it was some type of call to gather, to nurture. And yeah, it was so beautiful. Thank you for singing that
Yeah.
and sharing that with us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like
I'm
to
glad
talk a
to.
little bit. Oh, yes, I would like to talk a little bit. I guess, we've all, come to knowing what the word pivot means in this last year with the pandemic and everything like that. And especially, as an artist, um, we've definitely have had to pivot, our day to day, our, how we come to just, survive. And I was wondering how this last year has impacted you in the sense of your artistry and kind of what you've done to navigate, in 2020 and in now even into 2021.
So it was interesting that you said pivot because that brought me back to when I was in marching band. I like to think it was pivot,
Right.
which is, I
I'm
mean,
personally
technically
not a
like
big
how.
fan of that word, but I know everyone's used to hearing it now.
Oh my goodness, yes. I think there's like the 2020 words that we're kind of like over with is like, especially like in the emails with like, per my last email. It's like,
I hope this
hold
email
on,
finds
wait
you
a minute.
well.
Or
Yeah.
like, or they're like, or people were like in a Zoom meeting, they're like, and just to add on to that, it's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? It's like you hear it so much.
Yeah. Totally.
But yes, so I guess like with the way 2020 has been, into now, it was crazy. Like I had so many gigs in the beginning of the year, that was just like canceled. They're like, gigs, what is gone? And I was like, no, dang it. And then there was like a lot of things that happened during the same time as in the move and all of these other things. And so it was just like, wow, I have to stop. Like it's a forceful stop. It's like stop. And I've always grown up. My family's always taught us that, if anything is stopping you on purpose and you can't do anything about it, you need to kind of analyze yourself and where you are and what that means for yourself. And I think that was a time where America and a lot of the world kind of had to dig a little bit deeper into themselves introspectively and kind of see who they were and see what they were about. And that was about the time where you start seeing people who are starting to fight up it's not, I was trying to say stand and fight, but stand up and fight for what's right. And you're seeing all of this energy, even though we weren't able to do a whole lot, you're seeing people who are digging deeper into themselves. So I felt like 2020 was more of an introspective year for me to look more into myself and find out a little bit more about me and who I am as an artist. And I feel as if, yes, we had to shift some things online virtually. But luckily, I was in the position where I was already doing some virtual shows. So the transition wasn't so terrible. But being able to have that nice connection that you have with your audience, I feel like I felt kind of like robbed of, and I feel like maybe they were even robbed of it too, because there's this nice symbiotic relationship that we have between the performer and the audience, and the energy just kind of goes back and forth, ebbing and flowing between one another. And so now there's this, you guys can't see each other at all, find a new way, and it's so difficult to do that through screens. And so I think everyone kind of has this yearning for one another, the performers and the audience, to really connect in person again. And so I feel like not only are people digging in deeper, but I think people are also starting to be more in tune with art. What are you doing with your free time? How are you spending your time? A lot of people have been creating now too. So I think for me as an artist, it's been hard because financially there were a lot of things that, were going off of being in person. But then in other ways, creatively, that left doors to open. And it also allowed life to just happen. Because sometimes you'll find yourself way too busy for life to happen. And sometimes you can't pay attention to those little nuances that come along in life that you would be better served paying attention to help you further along in your journey. So that's kind of how I felt about 2020. But going into 2021, I'm always optimistic. Like, even though people are like, man, this is what's going on in Syria, and this is what's going on here, and this is what's going on there, I feel like being aware is the best thing that you can do. You can spread awareness. That's also another thing that you can do. But then another thing that you can do is to do the things you can do. Don't focus on what you can't do. That's like my number one thing. Is like, do what you can when you can, and when you can't, plan. But I say that like I'm this amazing planner, and I'm not.
Right.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
That's life. That's how it goes.
As long
But I
as you
know
still
there's going to
have
be
it
so
here.
much good things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, speaking of good things, I mean, it seems like you were on quite a high there before the pandemic hit. You were at the Grammys, you were on the red carpet. Like, I saw you. And
Yes, it was
yeah,
so much fun.
tell our viewers and let us know. I know Spencer wants to know how that happened, what you were involved with, and how you got on the red carpet and got out to LA and what all that was about.
Yes, it was so much fun. Okay, so I entered into a songwriting competition with Lincoln, and this is like the luxury car brand that's out there. I'm with Matthew McConaughey, and he's like driving a Lincoln Aviator, and he's looking all cool driving down the road. That was just like, so anyway, so I entered into this competition, and there were 1,600 entrants, and I became one of 4 finalists with a song called What Drives You. You can listen to it on SoundCloud if you want. And this song, I mean, it was so beautiful, I think, for the time, because it was just kind of like, what drives you? And I'm like, well, music drives me, people drive me, wanting to help the world drives me, And so I was just so blessed to be in that experience. And so we were all flown out to LA, and we had the opportunity to perform for some people from the Recording Academy. And then we also, that was kind of like our big kind of like showcase, where we get to showcase all of our songs, and it's kind of like the final kind of push for votes and things like that. Unfortunately, I did not win, but I think one of the most memorable experiences out of everything was that for years and years, I say that I'm going to win a Grammy. It's gonna happen. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know where. It's gonna happen. Gotta put that out there. And for years, I was just kind of like, how is this dream going to become a reality? And this is one of those experiences where we got to go behind scenes the day before the Grammys to see how they set the Grammys up. We got to walk through everywhere. I mean, I think I saw Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton. Like, they walked past me. They're like, "Hey, everybody, this is Gwen Stefani and Blake Shelton." And I was like, "Hey." And they just looked like they were like on their way to go, like wherever they were going. So like they weren't like, "Hi, Edem." you know, but still I was like, "Oh my gosh, Gwen Stefani, you're so pretty in real life. What? Like, this is real." And all this Blake Shelton, like, it was just weird. And I think I saw BTS, and then we got to see Lil Nas doing his little performance before the big day, and then we got to go to the Grammys the next day, and I got to walk down the red carpet, and it was crazy because there was like paparazzi everywhere, and there were all these people dressed up in amazing gowns and suits, and I'm just like walking on the red carpet. I'm like, "Oh yes, I'm standing on the red
Yes.
carpet," you know.
How
And
cool.
I think we finally got to like the pose, the place where like the big stars get to pose. So like where Ariana Grande gets to pose and like all those other people, and how they have like all the different magazines and different publications who are just sitting there and like taking pictures. And so we got to get some of our pictures taken, which was really nice. And then we went through, and then we got to go to the Grammys, which is where like everyone wins the bulk of like you're talking about producers, you're talking about artists, you're talking about more of the technical side of things, like where like so many people win their Grammys. I got to go sit in that. I think I got to see a couple of people perform that was really beautiful, and then I went to the televised Grammys. So I think that was something that was cool to see, that there's a big event called the Grammys, but there's the televised event, and then there's like where the bulk of people who win their Grammys like receive their awards. And so I thought that was really cool to see that contrast, but it was really crazy because that was the day that Kobe Bryant passed away. And
Mm,
so it was just a kind of a
that's
weird
right.
feeling because, yeah, it was just a really weird feeling because it was like, how we're like, we can't necessarily cancel, so how are we supposed to go through knowing one of
Mhm.
someone who's been who's affected so many, how do we go through that? But I feel like they were able to put something together so fast that honored and as a tribute to him. And I thought that was really cool to see. They really put in that effort, even though it wasn't like, the whole thing as much as they could. They really tried just in those last moments to put something together for him. So that made that Grammys kind of really special. Not only was it my first Grammys, but it was also one that they, under unfortunate circumstances, they were able to also utilize it as tribute in the space that was so, that was heavily lived in by Kobe Bryant at the time. They said it was the house that Kobe built.
Right.
No way.
So I thought that was also
Yeah.
really beautiful to be a part of as well. So that was my experience in a nutshell.
So cool.
Yes, fascinating. So, moving forward now in 2021, what do you see for yourself? Do you have any goals, or are you just going to kind of just see what comes to you and what you put out there? What are you, how are you vibing right now? What are you thinking moving forward, art, artistically
I
speaking?
I I think I think I'm still navigating the waters, seeing what the world can look like through like different artistic mediums. So I've been doing a lot of painting. Well, I don't know if anybody knows, but I also do a lot of like visual art as well. And I'm also working on doing some more movement performances. There was this project that I created called African Body, Soul, and Movement. And it's where it had traditional drumming, African drumming mixed in with more modern drumming and sounds that I composed, along with wonderful African traditional dancing with more of like a modern twist. That was choreographed by myself and a wonderful woman by the name of Latrice Anderson. She's a phenomenal choreographer, sorry. And that project was amazing. We got to take it to the Kaneko here to Kaneko in Omaha, the Union for Contemporary Art. We got a grant for it to go to the Boys and Girls Club of the Midlands, Girls Inc. So I want to also get back to doing that as well. Those more maybe like a virtual based performance art is something that I would also like to do that involves more movement and a story. But I'm also working on an album right now. it's taken like 1,000 years, but I have so much that I want to put out, and I have a lot of like old stuff. So I'm trying to push all of that stuff out, and I think the big thing for me in 2021 is, even if you don't think it's good, put it out. Just put it out. Just put it out. Because if you sit on it, where's it gonna go?
Right. And
Exactly.
it's you got
Nowhere.
to release it, that's part of that word release. You got to create it,
Yeah.
let it go, and then on to the next, you know. That's
So yeah, that's
wonderful.
kind of what
Definitely
I've
look
got
forward
going
to
on for
that.
this year. Yay.
Thank you so much, Edem. It's wonderful to see you. You sounded lovely. We look forward to the future.
Absolutely. And one last question I have for you. You mentioned
Okay.
a song that you performed during your set earlier about flowers and how you love flowers in springtime. What's your favorite flower?
Oh my
Or
goodness.
what's
My
one of them, I should
Tough
say?
favorite
question.
flowers. Okay, so I will say, well, my mood changes. And I think as with my mood changes, so does the flower. I think hydrangeas
Mhm.
are beautiful. But then I also really like, wow, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. Starts with a G and it's not gardenia. Oh my goodness. Adam, what is wrong
Well, that
with you
was what I was gonna
today?
say.
But I'm also a fan of like roses, but I also really love plants. I like aloe plants. And I like plants that are, oh my goodness, I think I'm forgetting the name, but plants that allow like for pollinators to just be there. So like a mess of plants. So things that'll
Hmm.
like attract butterflies. I think there are these plants that are in front of my mom's house. I forget the name, but they attract monarch butterflies. So every year we get these monarch butterflies that come through. And I'm like, I know y'all are on your little migration pattern. Thanks for stopping by. Happy to have
Yes,
you. You know, do your
yes.
little thing, and I'll see you next year, maybe, or maybe your offspring,
Hmm.
like, something. And so I like that essence, like, of life, of where you have these
Yes.
little tiny little things that just come and go, but with it comes so much life. So
Hmm.
flowers that are really helpful to pollinators, like I love those because you just get to see life around them. But if I were to receive flowers, I'm really open to anything. I love things that smell good. Oh my goodness, I love lilies. I think lilies are really beautiful, and I
Yes.
love how like they smell. I think they smell good. Like, and then I like
Wonderful.
lang lang. I think lang lang's also like another kind of smell from flowers that I like too. So yeah.
Those are some good ones indeed. Were the ones that you're talking about butterflies, are they marigolds? Are they like orange and yellow and red?
Yeah, I think
Kind
no,
of.
no, 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 no. They're not marigolds. No,
Okay. Those attract
they
butterflies too, or
almost,
monarchs.
yeah. Ooh, gotta play me some
Just so you know.
marigolds. I know
I
that.
love some monarchs too.
Yay.
Hmm.
Ooh. I think they're. I don't know what they're called, but they're similar to that of like, in color. They're nowhere near the same, but they're similar to that of like the echinacea plant. So they're like
Okay.
pink, and they have like fuzzy green stalks, and then they bloom
Oh, I know what you're
like a,
talking about. I don't know the name, but they're like a wildflower of some kind. Yeah.
yeah, there's something.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what they're called, but the best thing I can compare it to is the color and the stalk of an echinacea plant. And so
Yeah.
they don't have the cone, but they're kind of like, yeah. But I think those are really pretty, and then also like wild plants too. So like the one that's like it's called Mary's. Is it called Mary's or Queen Anne's lace? I think those ones that are like the fake carrot.
Hmm.
I think those the ones that are poisonous. I'm trying to remember which one.
I have no idea,
But
but yeah.
they're really pretty. They're like they single like tiny like they're like single little they're really tiny stalks and they're really long. They grow out in the wild, but the tops they're like these little tiny white flowers that like come up all on the top of them. So like sometimes if you're like in a wild field, you'll just see some like kind of growing. But yeah, those are really I think cool to see too in the wild. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nebraska and the prairie definitely have the landscape for those beautiful wildflowers for sure. Thank you for sharing some of
Oh
your
yeah.
favorites with us. And thank you again
Yeah.
for being with us tonight as we launch Lincoln Calling TV. We really, really appreciate you, all the work that you've contributed to the Nebraska music and art scene over the years as well. Congratulations again on another OEAA award as well for Best in World Music. Well
Thank you.
deserved indeed. And wish you all the best in 2021. Much love, big hugs virtually. And thank you again so much for being with us, especially in this backstage environment with Encore and Q&A. And again, thank you to BCN as well as Studio PH for awesome production tonight. Anything else, Spencer?
We've got more concerts ahead. Tune in next week, next Thursday, 7:30 for the Wildwoods. We're very excited to keep it rolling.
All right, Edem, you want to let everyone know where they can find your work and your music once more?
Yes, you. Okay, I want everyone who's listening right now, go to YouTube. Okay, go to youtube.com/Edem Soul Music and click subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I will be very upset with you. But if you subscribe, I'll be very happy with you. So subscribe to me on YouTube. You can find me at edemsoulmusic.com. If you want more information, you can do info@edemsoulmusic.com. But I'm on iTunes, Pandora, Tidal, Spotify, literally wherever there's music, SoundCloud. And it's great because between SoundCloud, YouTube, and SoundCloud, YouTube, and Spotify, there's like a really different mix of songs. There's songs that you won't find on Spotify that you'll find on SoundCloud, songs you'll find on YouTube that you won't find on SoundCloud or Spotify. So it's really worth it to be subscribed to different places of Edem Soul Music. So.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Well,
Love to
thank you so
everybody that
much.
tuned in tonight. Much love to everybody that
Thank you for
tuned in
having
tonight.
me
We'll see you
again.
next week.
You all have a wonderful evening or wonderful day whenever you watch this.